Welcome, everyone. We are now officially recording. Thank you all for joining us for the second day of the ICF South Florida Core Competencies Fall Summit 2025. My name is Viviana. I am so excited to be the host for today's sessions. Today is October 14, 2025, and we are going to talk about a very important topic, competency number 6, active listening. We will be exploring the art of listening, and among all core competencies, I personally believe this one is crucial because it allows us to connect deeply with our clients. Also, I would like to highlight another fantastic session that we will have later today at 5:30 p.m. with the fantastic and well-known, renowned Marcia Reynolds with competency number 3, establishes and maintains agreements. So she's going to talk about the difference between the minimum standards and maximum effectiveness. So you cannot miss it. Okay, before we dive in, let's cover a few quick details. We are going to, if you are looking to earn your CCUs, please make sure to stay for the whole or the majority of the webinar to qualify. And also at the end of the webinar, we will be sharing a survey QR code. So your feedback is very important to us. Please make sure to fill it out. So now, without further ado, I am delighted to introduce our wonderful speaker, Meredith. Meredith is a career development and leadership coach who guides professionals to take ownership of their careers, lead with confidence, and create lives they truly love. Known for her grounded wisdom and strategic insights, Meredith supports clients through career transitions, leadership growth, and personal reinvention. Her coach draws from her own life experience, overcoming burnout, navigating life transitions, and redefining success on her own terms. Wow. She works with clients to clarify their values, set meaningful goals, and move forward with clarity and purpose. Meredith serves in the leadership team of the ICF South Florida as a board coach. In this role, she supports fellows, leaders in strengthening their impact and confidence. In addition to her private coaching practice, she leads workshops and speaks to organizations across industries, always focused on practical strategies that spark real change. A very welcome to Meredith. Okay, Meredith, the floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Viviana, for a beautiful introduction. I truly appreciate it. And I appreciate seeing some fellow board members here. Claudia and Marcia are past, one of our past presidents. So it's great to have you, all of you in the room. Let me get started bringing up my presentation. And I believe there's still some people in the waiting room. So maybe they're coming in. So let me share my screen. Can everybody see? Wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. Just going to wait till everybody gets into the room.
Hello, everyone. As we are waiting, let's just chat. How was early morning?
Hi. Morning session was wonderful.
It's great.
Yeah.
Very good.
Hello, buenas
Valencia.
tardes. Hello,
Hi, Viviana. How are you?
I'm good.
Viviana.
We already start with the introduction.
Oh,
So
okay.
ago.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no problem. So let me see if there is an.
So maybe more people in the waiting room because I was there for.
Yeah, I am letting them get in. Yeah, we are already 23 people.
Wow.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Sorry if you were waiting for us to let you get in. Let me see. Okay, Meredith, I think there is nobody else waiting to
Okay,
get in.
wonderful. Are you
Yeah.
seeing my screen? Are you seeing the chat on my screen, or are you just seeing the PowerPoint?
PowerPoint.
Okay, so you're not seeing the chat or the other
No,
participants.
only PowerPoint.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for coming today. Today we're going to be talking about listening, and it's going to be a 90-minute presentation and get opportunity for 1.5 CCEUs in core competencies. And I believe that listening is at the heart of every effective coaching engagement. So I would so even though that this is a topic, the topic is listening, I would really love for this to be interactive and for everyone to participate. So just because it's about listening, I don't want you to listen. And that was my really poor attempt at a funny joke. So please make use of the chats and the reaction and the reactions. And to get us started, in a word or a few words, what does listening mean to you? And if you can please go ahead and answer in the chat. Engaging, understanding, engaging, being fully present, understanding the other person, understood, being fully present 100%, receiving without judging. Connecting and being integrating with open heart and full support what the client has said, being quiet and taking it in. Listening is presence and engagement. Wonderful. Thank you for using the they're still coming in. Using all 5 senses to focus on my client without judgment. All that and showing appreciation to what the client has to say. Holding space. Thank you, Blakely. Wonderful. Thank you. These are all great insights. So for the objectives for today, oh, I'm sorry. I lost my presentation. Okay. Here, I got it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. A deeper understanding about active listening and coaching, how to apply the key elements of ICF Core Competency number 6, strengthening the ability to listen beyond words, recognizing some listening pitfalls, and integrate improve techniques into your practice. So we're going to start out with a poll. Please use the chat for your responses. How would you rate your listening skills today? A, being exceptional, I listen with full presence. B, strong, I'm confident, but I can improve. C, developing, I'm becoming more aware. D, needs work, I often get distracted. I get distracted often.
B.
B,
Look.
B plus.
B minus.
I can always improve. B minus, B minus, B. All right, so it seems like a lot of B's, B minus, B plus, depending up B, C, depending upon the day. Unfortunately, B, another word. I like so very strong and but can always improve. And I think I probably sit at a B also. I think I'm going to join the B camp. Does anybody want to say anything more about this? You want to come off mute and offer any thoughts on this?
I like what Marcia said, if I understood her correctly, be in coaching and in other areas of her life, potentially maybe not be, because that's exactly how I feel. And the more I'm aware of it, the more, of course, I try to be a B in every other place of my life, but I'm sure I'm not there yet. So.
I like what you said, Shakti, because sometimes I think that as a coach, we put ourselves in the intention. But I bet if my husband was listening to me answering B, he may say, no, you're D. Right? So it could be, right? We are human, so.
Exactly. Thank you, Shakti. Thank you, Marcia. Blakely?
Thank you. So I find that I'm in as a very similar as a coach and as a consultant, I'm in B. I can very actively listen and hold a lot of space, but I am in I'm going through a lot of transition right now. So in my personal life, definitely probably more in like the D. I'm getting distracted often. I'm getting distracted with assumption, and that is spilling into my work. I notice.
Okay.
Like sometimes I might be waiting, like I might be listening openly or actively, but I'm also waiting for like, okay, what's the scenario? Or like my mind is still going into that space currently.
Got it. So yeah, so work is bleeding. I mean, personal is bleeding over into the work, and that happens. We're the same no matter anywhere we show up. So definitely, when we're with a client, it's important to have that presence and maintaining that presence with the client. But life happens, and life shows up into work. There's really not much, in my opinion, of a work-life balance. Let's see what else is in the chat. Okay, Claudia Roquefort as a coach A in relationships sometimes maybe a D. I like that. Yeah, we are who we are, and everywhere we show up, and there are definitely different aspects of our life we can improve in different areas too. Wonderful. Thank you everyone for sharing. Oh, Claudia, I see you have your hand up.
Hi. Yes.
Hi.
So wonderful to be here, Meredith.
Thank you.
There's some humor in what I shared, but it's true. How can we show up? How do we show up personally and professionally can sometimes be so different. As you know, I teach communication skills as well. So it's so important for me to be a deep listener in my work, and how much we struggle sometimes in that with a teenage son or an ex in our lives, or a parent who's being challenging. So that's the part where I think that self-assessment is really powerful to see, okay, how can we maybe bring some of these aspects and competencies even in our personal life when we're struggling with how we show up.
Absolutely. And I mean, I know we say often, putting our coaching hat on in our personal situations and our personal lives too.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I know I definitely do that. And sometimes I forget to put my coaching hat on in my personal engagements with people.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's see. Holly's saying Claudia, she can relate. We're on the teenage son. All right. Thank you everyone for sharing where they feel like they're at. I'm gonna move to the next slide. So listening is at the heart of coaching. Coaching is built on trust and curiosity. Both require listening. Listening transforms conversations from transactional to transformational, and listening supports presence, awareness, and client autonomy. And we all know how important it is to have a transformational conversation within coaching as opposed to a transactional conversation, because we really want our clients to have life-changing experiences, and that's why they're coming to coaching. I had a teacher in my coach training program who said, you want to coach yourself out of a job. That is the main goal, is that you're really getting your clients to transform so much that you're coaching yourself out of a job. And that's stuck with me after all of these years. And there's a little bit more on the two ways of listening, transactional versus transformational. And this is what makes listening and coaching different and unique from a daily conversation. Most of our daily conversations are more transactional. Our goal for coaching is to have our conversations to be transformational. We want to listen to understand instead of listening to respond. We want to focus on being present. We're not here to solve our clients' problems. They solve their own problems. We're here to ask them questions and listen to what they're saying so that we can bring that transformational change. We go beyond hearing just words. We hear tone, energy, emotion. Transformational coaching is client-centered, not coach-led. Transformational is awareness-focused as opposed to outcome-focused. Let's get into the definition. So as many of us know, the ICF updated their competencies in September of 2025. So the new definition is focuses on what the client is and is not saying. That was there before. To fully understand what is being communicated in the context of the client's systems and to support client self-expression. So I have and I'm sorry, here are the sub-competencies. I do have a slide in the presentation about the differences that go a little bit deeper into the differences between 2019, the last time the competencies came out, and 2025. But here are the sub-competencies at a glance. And would anybody like to read them? Jump in and read them? Or I could go ahead and read. Oh, thank you, Shakti. I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you.
I can read the first one.
Thank you. Thank you, Claudia.
6.01 considers the client's context, identity, environment, experiences, values, and beliefs to enhance understanding of what the client is communicating.
Thank you. Claudia Rocafort.
Reflects or summarizes what the client is communicating to ensure clarity and understanding.
Thank you. Viviana?
Yeah.
Thank you.
603 recognize and inquires when there is more to what the client is communicating.
Thank you. Marcia?
So 4 notices, acknowledges, and explores the client's emotions, energy shifts, nonverbal cues, or other behaviors.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for reading the first 4. I will go ahead. I'll do 6.05. Integrates the client's words, tone of voice, and body language to determine what the full meaning of what the client is communicating. And 6.06, notice trends in the client's behaviors and emotions across sessions to discern themes and patterns. So it's not just, it's no longer just session focused. It's over the whole time that we have our coaching engagement with our clients. And this actually came up for me maybe a week or 2 ago with a client that I've been working with for about 10 months. And we meet monthly, and he one of his goals was weight loss, and he's lost a lot of weight. He's British, so I don't really know what the kilos to pounds conversion is, but I know that he's lost a lot. He's lost a lot of weight, and he is a different person than when we first met. To look at him, because I could see the weight loss, to his confidence is there, and just how he talks about himself and how he engages, and it's so wonderful to see. He's even talked about starting to date because he feels more confident being around people, and it's wonderful to see how his body language has changed. His body has changed. His body language has changed. His confidence has come up. He talks about himself in a much more positive way. And when we had our last session, I was talking to him about that, and he even said, he's like, you probably he's like, I'm probably a different person than when I first started with you. And I said, yeah, I could see that. So that all of that is taking into account in listening. Oh, here's what's new for from 2019 and 2025 and what it means. So from the definition, listening for insight and learning, insight now is in core competency number 7. And would it be helpful if I read this to you, or you just want to, or is it good to just look and maybe anybody share some insights as to what they will see with the new changes? Kim, could you talk about what you mean by look?
Just allow us to look.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And process.
Sure.
Any questions too that you might or others may have about how this is showing up for them. It's been great. I think the changes have been very inclusive.
Holly, that's a great question. Energetic intelligence is reading the energies from the client. So in my example about my client with the weight loss and just seeing how he shows up differently from when I first met him 10, 11 months ago to the way he is now, and just seeing how his body language is and how he sits up in the chair, and he, as opposed to like slumping over when we first started meeting, and how he just has a smile ear to ear, and it's that positive energy that he's exuding, the language that how he's speaking about himself, that's what energetic intelligence means. 2 hands. I think I'm not sure. I didn't see who went up first.
Claudia was first.
Okay, Claudia, please go ahead.
No worries, thanks. I wanted to ask, and this is something that maybe a lot of people already here know, but in terms of the maintaining our credentials, do we need to know specifically how not just the content of the competencies, but do we need to know which one now lies in which number and the subsequent numbers? Is that something that we need to be able to keep track of?
I would say, yeah, I would know the different numbers. I don't know that you need to know exactly like 6.02 is this, but yeah, it is important. And the competencies do all work together. So yeah, so and the test, when I don't know how they're doing a new test now, but when the test came out, it wasn't like I needed to know that 3.3 said this, but I did need to know that what was in 3.3, or that listening is 6, and competency 7 is evokes awareness. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. That's helpful.
Okay. You're welcome. You're welcome. Shakti?
Yeah, as I'm looking, and I know it was just in your other page as well, listening for understanding. I completely understand how that's important. But also I feel like understanding is all about me. So there's understanding can mean different things to me, and I'm maybe going to sound a little bit confusing here, but to me, there's a lot of understanding that people do that ends up being about them as the listener, and that is less and less about the client or the other person who they're listening to. And maybe I experience this more outside of coaching than in coaching, but especially when I always feel like I get lost as a client when I'm working with a coach who is trying to understand so intensely what I am experiencing instead of just being with what I am experiencing and hearing what I am experiencing and hearing me. That doesn't mean they have to understand me, to me,
No.
right? So I think there's just the word understanding for me is I'm a little bit disappointed that the word is used in this way in the revised competencies, because it can drive people to focus on themselves as a coach instead of focusing on the client.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this yesterday with the celebration. Is that we didn't that we're not loving the change in the word celebration. So I understand the understanding. I also think that understanding is also checking in with the client to make sure that you're on the same page with what they're saying. Like, I had a client just before this who she's talking about how she's looking for a new job, and she said, I think I'm blocked. And I asked her what she meant by blocked, because I was thinking maybe she had an NDA or a non-compete that she couldn't, that was my first thought. But when she said I'm blocking myself, it has nothing to do with the non-compete, then I was back with her. And I see that there's some more that popped up in the chat. Claudia.
And I love what you shared, Shakti. I think that's brilliant. It's such a powerful insight, because yes, as a coach, we can get lost in the need to understand and take away the focus from the client to our perception and interpretation of the client. Excuse me. And the reason why I think it's so powerful with listening and deep listening is precisely that, is that ability to hold space and kind of keep checking in with the person to make sure you're on the same wavelength, on the same path, on the same, that there is an understanding, but it's less about us as a coach understanding and making sure that we are aligned with what the client is saying, aligned with what the client means. And that's the part in listening that I think is so powerful. Why I do think that understanding is essential, because as human beings, we have our own interpretation of everything, and our own reality will always color how we perceive somebody else saying anything. Semantics, right? So by just being able to check in, what does that mean for you? What do those semantics mean for you? That's where I think we can achieve the understanding without getting lost in our own need to understand. Does that make sense? I see some nodding heads. Good.
Yeah, and it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I've been in coaching conversations with clients where I try my best to understand where the session is going, and I'm just there with them and present with them and in the moment with them, and we wrap up the conversation. I ask them, what their thoughts or what they learned from the session, and they feel like they're good to go, and they've got what they needed to out of the session. And I get off the call, and I'm like, I don't know what just happened, but they feel like they got their solution. They know that they got their solution, and it really isn't necessarily my job to understand it. And I like what you had to say, Viviana. I understand what you're sharing, Shakti. However, you can always use understanding to validate the client. Yeah.
Yeah, just to clarify, I'm not against understanding. It's just about the nuance of where we take it to. That's all I was trying to say. Yeah. But
yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. Anyone else have any thoughts or comments on the what's in, what's out, what's new, what it means? Claudia Flores.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, since these came out, that we are being a little bit guided, and maybe I'm incorrect, into the energy and more somatics than before. And I think it's good in a sense, from what we heard this morning in Luis's Gallardo's session, saying that's a fastest way to get a breakthrough from the client.
Yeah. And I've noticed that also more in my coaching with clients, is I'll say, where are you feeling that? Going into the somatic, where are you thinking that? Like, yeah. So definitely, yeah. I agree. The competencies definitely seem to be becoming more holistic. All right. Moving on. So a reflection exercise. So this is about noticing, when do I stop listening? During silence, when forming my next question, when I'm emotionally triggered. So I want to give you a couple minutes to think about this, and maybe write some things down in your notes, and share some reflections in the chat. I know that one of the things that I needed to unlearn when I first started coaching was to not form the next question while the client was talking. And I happen to be a big talker, those of you who personally know me. And I do like to talk. And that was one of the things that I really had to unlearn and hone my listening skills when I was going through coach training, and as I've developed in my coaching practice. So that was one of my big ones when I first started. Let's see what's coming in the chat. When triggered, Blakely, when forming my next question, and when triggered. Dr. Liesel, when triggered. Valerie, when triggered. Claudia, when triggered. Okay, so number 3 seems to be a big one. Eric, I fall out of active listening when I'm note-taking, having a deep insight, or otherwise get distracted.
Sorry, I didn't know we were supposed to do 1, 2, or 3. That was my mistake. I
no,
wasn't listening, Meredith.
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, no, all of the above. Thank you, Eric. When triggered, when forming my next question, I tend to avoid taking notes generally, but if I do write something down, I tend to miss things. Alice from Allison. Marcia, when triggered. Number 3. Shakti, my deep and full listening is impact when I take notes, focus on what I need to respond with next. Think too much about understanding the client. It takes me in level 1 or level 2 listening versus level 3. Kristen, when forming my next question. Claudia Ramirez, when forming my next question. Holly, what does when triggered mean for folks? Cam, when client, I'll get back to Holly. When client won't stop talking and talking, and I get triggered. When the client is waffling. From Adrian. Katya, when I have back-to-back sessions, I'm too conscious on time. Erica, and not any one of them, but when I'm running out of time. Viviana, when forming my next question. I just want to get back to Holly. What does when triggered mean for folks? So for me, I think it's definitely very subjective, and it could be something that maybe the client is saying, maybe something about to Erica's point, when I'm running out of time, forming the next question, maybe not knowing what to ask next. Has anybody fallen into that one where they don't know what to ask next?
Yes, that's a yes for me.
Yeah, I've definitely done that. I've actually even said what question would be helpful for me to ask you here. And yeah, so yeah, so it could be something like that. Does anybody want to share come off of mute and share any experiences? Okay, Claudia Rocafort, please. We have a bunch of Claudias today. I think 3 of them.
I love it.
Yes.
You know me, I'll always talk, I'll always share. Yeah, I was fascinated by this idea of, yeah, when we don't know what to ask a client next. And this is one of those things that I love and that I teach as a communication consultant. I always bring it back to the client and ask them, what do you think has been the most helpful self-realization so far in this session?
Mm-hmm.
Or how are you feeling about where the session is going?
Yeah.
What have you not asked or discussed or covered so far that you would like to address? And those 3 are my saviors, because it always brings it back to getting them talking about where they're at and how their process is going. And that I find very helpful. It's one of those interview skills when I train people to do interviews on camera or in big meetings. And those are key questions that usually help clients as well.
Thank you. Thank you for that, for the share, the reflection. Appreciate it. Yeah, it does bring back to presence. Blakely?
Yeah, this is so helpful to think about. It actually happened to me yesterday, and I'm an internal corporate coach, and so for me, it happens in 2 places. Obviously, whenever I'm thinking about like what I'm going to ask next, but if I've got a leader who's really frustrated and the emotion's really hot, because I'm an internal coach, sometimes I relate to that, and I get like, oh, I almost get like I'm almost in the box with them, and so that's where I sometimes. But when when the emotion's really big, sometimes I am that's where I get like, oh gosh, like I almost get like I get too identified with it. And
Yeah.
so yeah, that's where it is for me. And what I sometimes do is I'll say, okay, let's try. Sometimes I might try and I ask them if I can center them maybe, and that's sometimes myself too. And then I'm asking a question like, if we talk to a higher part of yourself, what do they see? What does that part of you have to say? And that's
Yeah.
how I can bring the session back.
Wonderful. That's a great question to ask too. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. Shakti?
Yeah, I think you know, I think I guess getting triggered has a different meaning for all of us. And
Definitely.
for me, taking when I get triggered and what I want to do with it and all that, I think when I've taken it to supervision, I have found that to be a really helpful insight to reframe or to reconsider what is happening. But one thing that and I forget now who suggested this. I'm sure multiple coaches. We have so many presentations here every year, but I think one thing that I have learned that I found helpful that isn't always easy to do is to actually stay present with that trigger, but not for myself, only in a way where it can serve the client potentially, right? To maybe mention it, to maybe say, I'm noticing X, Y, and Z energy is coming up for me. What is happening for you as you're sharing this? So it kind of forces you to, I'm not trying to shove it under the rug. I'm recognizing what is happening in this space that we've co-created. And I'm asking you as the client, what might be coming up for you? And maybe nothing does, that's fine. But at least it brings me also back to, to the client, which is the goal always. So.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And I also, when I engage with a client or I ask a question, I'll always say, may I share an observation with you? As we've all learned, may I share an observation with you? Please feel free to disagree with me. This is what's coming up can I share what's coming up for me? Is it to what's coming up for you as well? And having that check-in to your point, Shakti. I believe something came in on the chat. Oh, Claudia, please go ahead. Thank you.
This was another thought since several people mentioned that their deep listening kind of gets more challenged when taking notes. I love taking notes. And one of the tips that really helps to not be able to stay fully present is to literally just write down keywords. Don't write down a sentence or a thought, but just the word that the client said that may have been a trigger, or the word that the client said that needs to be clarified, or that will lead to the next question. And that's one of those also interview skills that are really helpful, to just write the keyword that will remind you what the question is that you wanted to ask, or the point that you wanted to go back to and bring back to the client.
That is a great tip. Thank you for that share.
Mm.
Claudia Flores.
So this is something I heard from Marsha Reynolds saying to not take notes as much as you can.
Yeah.
Because then you're not fully present. And since I heard that, I have been doing that. And to be honest, it helps so much. And so what I do is right after the session, I take out my notepad and I write.
Yeah.
Whatever we have said, because if I'm looking down at the paper and writing something, something happens and the client, I don't know, I think we lose them in some sort because they don't know what you're writing. And it's what's the word, overwhelming, or maybe it's embarrassing. I don't know. It's something that I've sensed that I lose the client. So
Yeah.
what I'll do is I just do that at the end.
Yeah, I'm not a note taker with my clients. I like to keep that presence with them. I do have a lot of clients, I think most of them, like to take notes when they, like, as they're processing, as they're thinking, as they're, they'll say, can I give me a moment? I just want to write this down. Or I'll notice they'll start writing and I'll say, I'll give you a moment. In that moment, I might just jot down a keyword or something like that. But I really want to keep presence with them and with the client, and they could write down all they want to write down and what they need to process. But I am not a note taking coach per se. Valeska.
Yeah, I'm with Claudia. I don't take note, and I always have a buffer between one session and another. Is when I just take it's more like bullet points of the main things. And it might happen that if the client use a word that is a very specific word during the session, and then I might write that word because I don't want to forget the word. But normally, no notes.
Yeah. And I think that's a great point to the way the competency has been redone. It's that we're supposed to notice patterns over multiple sessions over time. So if a client is using a certain word, that is a great word to keep track of, because you can use that in their questions to the person, and they'll bring it up over and over again if that's their languaging. But thank you for that, Valeska. Okay, Dr. Liesel, I like to note in the chat, I like to note the session goal. Then if the client keeps repeating a word or phrase, I'll know that too. I'll note that too. Yes, the session goal is in the beginning competency. So of course we want to, that's the whole point of having the session, is what's the goal that we're going to get to. So yes, definitely very important to note the goal. Thank you for sharing that. Next slide. And there's definitely different through the 3 levels of listening, expanding awareness through the levels. So I think we talked about this. The internal level, focus on the self. Level 2, focus on the client. And then level 3, focus on the energy and field. And that's where that energy intelligence that was brought up earlier, energetic intelligence that was brought up earlier, that lives here in level 3. So I'll leave this up for, does anybody and want to speak to any of the different levels, or where do you feel like you are right? I think that's actually the next slide. The manual poll. Which level do you use most often? So if you can share A, B, or C, or level 1, 2, or 3 into the chat, please go ahead.
Can you go back to the?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was just going to ask, do you want me to go back to
Yeah.
to the slide? Yeah, absolutely. So in the chat, you can list where you're at. Either A, B, or C, or level 1, 2, or 3, however you want to list it. Viviana said level 2 and 3, Valerie level 2 and 3, Shakti mostly 2, transitioning into more level 3, Claudia Flores between 2 and 3, Katia 3, Claudia Rocafort 2 and 3, Adrian 3, Blakely 3, Tanya 2, Claudia Ramirez 2 and 3, Dr. Liesel 2 or 3, depending upon what's happening. Heather 2 to 3. Allison 60% 2. Blakely sometimes 2. Rosario 2. Moira 2 or 3, but sometimes 1. Marcia 2. Alexandra 2. Kristen, I operate mostly in 2, but have moments in level 3. I look forward to improving my level 3 listening. I think that's where I am too. I think that's where most of us are. Kristen in 2 and 3. Erica is in 3. Kim level 2, sometimes level 3 with certain clients. Yeah, I think the goal is to get to level 3 and be at level 3 coaching, and having that global. I think that's what what's been added to competency number 5. I think that I'm at level 2 and working my way to being at level 3. I think it just depends upon the client. I think maybe in outside of coaching in personal life, I'm at a level 1 and really maybe wanting to be at the level 2, level 3 with in my personal relationships with my friends and family and loved ones. But in the coaching space, definitely level 2, working to level 3. Thank you everyone for sharing that. Does anybody want to come off mute and talk about what might help you get to the deeper level? Marcia, please share.
I want to say one thing about the level 1, right? Because we need the level 1 all the time to, in terms of self-awareness. Not necessarily we are going to use that, but especially complementing your previous question, right? When we feel the trigger, let's say it happens a lot to me because of the type of client that I work with, that many times they bring situations that I had in my life professionally, right?
Yeah.
So what I've been learning every day is a learning, but it's like I get that, and it goes to a space inside of me that is really the level 1, right? And then when I become aware, I can separate it, say, oh, that was my experience. What is this person experience? So, but this is super important because I really think we need the level 1 to acknowledge that we are feeling, thinking, judging, and then we can hold the space and say, okay, this is happening with me right now, but I can separate, or I can use this thing that I feel and feel triggered to be more curious about the other person.
Yes.
So I think they happen all together, but we truly need the level 1 as like a big self-awareness piece, not to really do this space. This is my thing. This is your thing. So how I can leverage the level 1 to really be able to go to it. Okay.
Thank you for sharing that insight. It makes a lot of sense. I love what you just said. And Shakti and Holly said, thank you for sharing, Marcia, helpful. Shakti said, love that, Marcia. Continue to be whole persons, which includes being at level 1. Yes. Thank you. Appreciate that insight. Yeah, we have to, because we do have to have that separation between us and the client. And so many of us, what we coach on is similar to what our personal experiences were, which makes us great at what we do and very helpful to our clients. So yeah, so that level 1 is important to start off with. Thank you, Marcia.
One more comment only.
Absolutely.
This is when in the session, many times people count it. What did you do when this happens to you? So, or what advice do you give me? And then many times this comes to the tip of our tongue. And then you say, okay, this is what I need right now to hold the space, not give advice, and have the next question or the paraphrasing or whatever. But this consciousness, this awareness is crucial. So, and it happens all the time, right? So the client says, oh, tell me what I do now.
Exactly.
And you say, okay.
Yeah, that biting the tongue, and yeah, or when you've been in a very similar situation, and because I've had that happen when I'm with my clients, and it's like, oh, I was there 10 years ago, and like keep the mouth shut. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Okay, so going beyond the words, listening to beyond what's being said. So this is when we listen for tone, for pace, for the energy, going and looking at the body language, the gestures, is there a big smile on their face? Is it stoic? What are they bringing? What is the client bringing to the call or bringing in that moment? Shifts in emotion or energy, hear what's unsaid, pauses, hesitations, contradictions. Hear that a lot when the client is saying one thing and then a few minutes later it's a contradiction to what they had just said, and then checking in with them on that. So yes, there's so much that we have to listen for that's not words. I had one of my coaches, was it last week, and I came to coaching with them, and was just this doesn't sound like you, Meredith, and then I said I haven't done this, and they said, why aren't you taking action on this? And they caught me. They got me. So yes. Spotting energy in the conversation. So some clues. So some of the clues that I wrote down here are sighs or deep breaths, change in pitch or tone, quickened or slowed speech, emotional language or silence, physical stillness or movement. So in the chat, please share what are some clues that help you notice energy shifts in clients. And I could start while you're writing. I mentioned this yesterday in Jimmy's presentation. I was coaching a client, and she had this huge aha moment, and she just started like processing, and I was silent for about 5 minutes because she just needed to go process what was going all this. She had this major download, and she was writing, and she was processing and thinking, and I just zipped the lip. So I noticed that, and I even checked in with her a couple minutes into her processing. I said, do you need me to ask you something? Do you need me to? And she was like, nope, I need quiet. And I let her have that. All right, so let's look at what's coming into the chat. Claudia Rocafort, where the eyes are looking, the eyes. Claudia Flores, watery eyes, blushing, looking down. Marcia, same for me, Claudia, the eyes, the tone of voice. Heather, definitely tone changes or looking away. Rosario, size, physical movement, emotional language. Blakely, voice frequency and cadence of speech. Moira, silence, yes. Tanya, the tempo of speech changes. Kristen, all of the above, particularly change in tone, physical movements are good indicators. Allison, facial expression. Adrian, pursed lips. That's a great one. Claudia, body language. Adrian, again, narrowed eyes. Viviana, emotional language, silence and deep breath. Adrian, speed. Claudia Ramirez, gaze. Kim Moore, speech pattern, gaze, silence. Erica, emotional language, silence, movement. Oh, these are all wonderful clues. Does anybody, there's another one. Look like us humans are a bit complex. Adrian, yes, we definitely are complex. I absolutely agree with that. Dr. Liesel, facial expressions or lack thereof, sudden tapering off of what they're saying or changing what they're saying to something different. Yes, thank you. Anybody want to come off of mute and share anything? Any experiences from personal coaching sessions, their sessions?
I will.
Thank you, Adrian.
I'm having a bit of a giggle there, thinking maybe I should become a vet when I see all of those things. I'm like, God, it's a miracle any of us make it out alive, isn't it? But I think what really comes over with the benefit of listening to everybody, the Hive Mind today, is how we each know our clients. Yeah. And I think that's really important because I have quite a variety of clients. And an energy shift in one will mean not the same as an energy shift in another. If I have an ADHD client, which I have many of, their energy is different from somebody who's more neurotypical. So, you know, I think we're a little bit like we're running a numerical lock, and we need to look at all the numbers and the combination to make sense of it as a whole for that client.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. That is great insight. Yeah. Thank you for that. Claudia Rocafort, please.
I have a client I love who blushes, and it's really beautiful to see over the years, understanding how it can mean so many different things for that person at any given moment, whether it's because they reached an awareness, or because they got self-conscious, or because they found an aha for themselves. So that's also the key, is over time getting to understand how some of these physical cues can mean different things for a client, and where we can tune in to ask the right questions to see what's really going on there. And support them in the process of their discovery, or their aha, or what that shift may mean for them.
Yes. Thank you for that. Yeah, because I think that's what the new part of the competency that's really so important is the patterns over time throughout the coaching session. So it really is making it's really, we just saw another person entering the waiting room. So it threw me off. So I think that it's really coaching the whole person, not just a session to session engagement. It's really we're working with the whole person. Okay. I'm moving on. Unless anyone else has anything to share here, we'll move on. More of the words versus tone versus energy versus emotion. So this is a multi-dimensional listening table. And this is going on beyond what we're hearing, what the words are, but actually what the whole body. So the words are the content, the tone, the volume and the pitch, the energy, the flow and intensity, the emotion, the feeling state. So we could hear, I'm fine. Is it sarcastic? Is it something else? Is it true? Is it accurate? What's the energy? Is it a flat, I'm fine, like I'm fine, or is it I'm fine? Sad, hopeful, tired. So it's really hearing, it's not only the words that we're listening for, but the tone, the energy, and the emotion that we're listening for.
Meredith, I have a question. When you say, is it true?
What do you?
When you say, like, they say, I'm fine, and you're wondering if it's true what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious about that.
I think that what I mean by what is it true is it just like almost a reactive answer, or is it something that's an accurate statement? So how, like, for instance, how often are you asking a client, or, and this is for everybody, are you asking a client a question? Oh, I don't know the answer to that, or I don't have an answer, or I'm not sure, or
Yeah.
we all know that that's not that's more like a gut response than an actual, I mean, there could be like, it could be, I'm really just, I'm not sure here. I don't know. And that's when you look in for the energy or the tone, or maybe even the emotion. And it could be something like, this is something I need to think about before we have our next session. So to write, and they'll write it down, and that could become some homework or something like that. As opposed, so because a client is giving a response to a question that you're asking, it might not necessarily be true. It might just be a pause. It might be a deflection. That's what I mean by that. Does that help, or is there more?
I was thinking if there was coherence between the voice more than, because maybe the word true, I see that how it resonates, that maybe we can be judging, or we don't know. And what I was thinking was, is there coherence between what the person is saying and the body language, more to see there
Yeah. And I think the body language would be the tell, especially if it's like a deflection, or if it's definitely like, I just don't know the answer to this right now. Or this is something I need to ponder on. And I think that's when you can check in with the client and say, do you need me to ask this in a different kind of way, in a different way? Do you have any questions about this question? I think that's when the good check-in would come in.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I saw something come in on the chat. Just wanna. Shakti said, sounds like you're saying questioning, if it's true, just means questioning the integrity of the words or emotion, state of energy, etc., and asking the client to clarify it for us. Yeah, it's more of a check-in, or if it's an accurate statement. And I think that's when it becomes the more powerful questioning, because answer might not always be there right at the tip of the tongue, and it could be that unreactive kind of statement. Claudia, please.
I love what you just said. Is that accurate statement? Meaning, it is a perfect point to check in with a client to say, did you mean that sarcastically? Is that how you really feel? Is that a reaction, or is that what you really believe of yourself? Like, where are you at with this response? Especially when it's not characteristic or typical of their normal responses. I think what you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is that's a perfect moment to stop and check in. See what the client means.
Absolutely.
Where's this coming from? Yeah.
Yeah. And Moira, or just tell me more about that. That's a perfect response. Yeah. The client that I just had before this session that's looking for a new job, she started out saying about how she wasn't confident, and then 2 minutes later she was talking about how she's very confident when she goes into a job interview. So there was the discrepancy. So we checked into that, and I checked into that about the confidence. You told me 2 minutes ago that you don't feel confident, and now you're talking about your confidence. So yeah, so there's sometimes when it could just be an answer to be thrown out there. Shakti.
I think when as a client, when a coach shows up with too many assessments of what might be happening or what they're hearing, and so it can feel judgy at some point. So I think there's a fine line, I think, and maybe that's what I was hearing from Katja's question, although I don't want to impose anything on her question, but that's what I heard is, and I put myself here as a client when I say this, when the coach, I like that, tell me more about that, or I heard something, can you tell me more? Because it doesn't, there's not too many words or too many descriptive words, because the descriptive words, I think, are what throw me off and start to make me feel like I need to be in a certain lane, or it starts to build this level of judgment that isn't, yeah, I'm not saying that the coach shouldn't, point something out, but at the end of the day, there is no such thing as a right or a wrong answer or a right or a wrong perspective that I have. It's really for me to decide as the client. So I think there's that nuanced place where it needs to show up in a non-judgy way.
Definitely. And tell me more is definitely a default question of mine when, especially in a situation like that, where it could be a discrepancy about how the client is really feeling or what they're saying, or I want to step out of that space of judgment. Tell me more about that, or why do you think that? I don't really ever ask if is that true, because it's true for them in the moment. But tell me more about that, or is this or validating this is your feeling? Is this an accurate thought, or something like that? Or tell me more about that, or that's where I would go in the session. Okay. So common listening pitfalls. What gets in the way? Interrupting or finishing thoughts, problem solving instead of listening, allowing bias or assumptions, to Shakti's point with the assumptions and the judgment, thinking ahead, multitasking, or distraction. So in the chat, if you can please share, which pitfall do you want to work on most, or from the list here, or do you have another pitfall that you would want to work on? As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, I'm a big talker. So one of my pitfalls was that I had to work on was the formulating my question before the client was done talking, and interrupting, wanting to get my words in there, and that's what I had to unlearn in coaching, in the coach training, and as I've been developing my practice. Let's see what's coming in on the chat. Blakely said assumptions. Adrian said interrupting or finishing thoughts. Shakti said pitfalls to work on problem solving and thinking ahead. Tanya shared interrupting or finishing thoughts. Moira always checking the urge to problem solve. Rosario interrupting. Holly problem solving. I'm an internal facing coach. It's hard not to advise. Yes. Kristen problem solving instead of listening. Allison, I need to work on avoiding shifting into solution mode. Yes, yeah, I could agree with that one. Dr. Liesel, finishing thoughts, even in my head. Claudia Flores, thinking ahead. Viviana, thinking ahead. Yeah, definitely thinking ahead. Marcia, problem solving. Yes. Claudia Rocafort, solution mode is what I get to work on. Yeah, we want to get to that. We want to get to that resolution. We want to get to that solution, but that's the client needs to get to that. We come up with it for them, then we're not coaching ourselves out of a job, like my teacher had said in coach training. Kim Moore, wrapping into action too soon. Yes. Thank you for sharing your pitfalls and what you want to work on. Go to the next. Some strategies to stay present. So to stay fully engaged. There's another chat that came in. Something that came in on the chat. Let's take a look. Nice to see that I'm not alone in these pitfalls. No, Shakti, we're all seem to be in the same boat, paddling along together. It's practicing our skill, our craft. So strategies to stay fully engaged. Use the breath to reset presence. Anchor and curiosity. We all know, we spoke about that this morning, curiosity being, in the session this morning, curiosity being there, and how we engage in our coaching practice. Reflect or summarize to stay focused, and allow silence. And I find that lately I find that silence is huge with my clients. Let them sit in their thoughts and process. So now we're gonna do a little exercise. Oh, we have another chat. Oh, it's just, okay. Claudia Rockefeller said, as an executive and business coach and communication consultant, there's a fine line I have to work on to make sure I'm not problem solving. Yes. Marcia, reflect, summarize, and connect the story of the session. What was the beginning, where was the client in the moment? Definitely. Thank you. Yes. So let's do this for a moment. I'm going to ask everybody to close their eyes or soften your gaze. Breathe deeply, a few deep breaths in and out. Notice your surroundings. What are your sensations? And what are your thoughts? What are you noticing? Let them go. Let them pass. And return to presence. And set the intention to listen fully in your next conversation. Okay, you can open your eyes and come back to the session. How does your body feel after this pause? If anyone would like to share their thoughts, and either in the chat or come off mute.
I'll go.
Miriam.
I wanted more.
Oh, you wanted more?
I wanted more silence and connect with myself.
Okay, no, that's good feedback for the next time. Thank you, Katya.
Yeah. Meredith, Viviana, in my case, it was more aligned and centered.
Mm-hmm.
I felt more be present with myself, starting with myself.
Yes.
That was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Alexandra.
That was a little energy boost. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Great. Thank you.
Yeah, it felt great, Meredith. Just to take a deep breath and be like, yeah, I can relax.
You can relax, definitely. Yes. And we can do that in between especially for our running back to back to back. I think was it Katya who mentioned that at the beginning in one of the chats earlier about going back to back to back. So you could take that pause and listen to yourself and check in with yourself and come back to presence before going into that next session. Especially if it could be a tougher session in the prior one before what you're getting into. Because you don't want to bring that energy from one session into the next one. You need to have that stopping point. I think there was a bunch that I'm sorry, go back. I think there were some chats that came in. Yeah, let me go here. Claudia Rocafort said, I'm calmer and more relaxed. Rosaria, relaxed. Shakti, more grounded. Valeska, centered. Marcia, I could actually feel my body. That's wonderful. We want to feel our bodies. Allison, more relaxed and lighter. Dr. Liesel, more grounded. Claudia Ramirez, renovated. Wow, I like that one. Renovated. Heather Siskind, grounded. Claudia Rocafort, it was good to check in with myself and become more aware of my body and recenter. Holly said I had started doing this meditation strategy when I'm operating in the world. I'm just working on just not thinking, and I can let it go easier than just focus on the breath. Wonderful. Shakti, 2-minute mindfulness practice is my standard between sessions. It's so powerful. Some clients ask me to start the session that way too, helping them be grounded. That's very powerful. I might follow suit, Shakti. Thank you for sharing that. In the room. Thank you. Wonderful shares. And the next slide. So recognizing themes across sessions. We've talked about this quite a bit so far today. Listening across time, notice repeating language, emotions, or values, identifying evolving patterns or recurring metaphors, asking reflective questions. What do you notice showing up again? So that's bringing it from session to session as opposed to just in the session. And that has to, and I believe it was Valeska who said she writes down a certain word. So that's the new thing in this competency 6 is really making this a whole more holistic through the entire coaching engagement and not just within the session. Let me go back, sorry. Spotting patterns. So linking the sessions for client growth, because we want our clients to grow. That's why they're coaching with us. So here are some questions. What have we talked about before that feels connected? What do you notice is repeating? What's emerging as a theme in your journey? So the client that I mentioned earlier with the weight loss, he actually came to me because he wanted to find a new job. And the goals and the themes changed over the journey. And what he noticed was that about halfway through, he really, the weight loss had to become the focus. And when the weight loss was achieved, he realized that there were other goals, that now he could tackle the other goals, being a new job, a new dating, more socialization with friends. So there's definitely the themes and patterns that emerge over the entire coaching engagement, and we have to notice what they are. And also as we all know, our coaching engagements evolve and they're flexible. We might start with 1 or 2 goals, and it might be a different goal that comes up 2 or 3 sessions in, or 4 or 5, 6 or 6 sessions in, and we adjust to that. So our last poll, let me just see what. Thank you, Shakti. At that point, Meredith, reminder that we're coaching the whole person. Yes. So please put into the chat, what will you take forward? The options are pausing more, reflecting back, listen for the tone, notice the energy, or choose your own. Shakti, all of the above. Valeska, pausing more. Kristen, notice energy. Rosario, listen for tone and notice energy. Dr. Liesel said reflecting back. Alexandra, focus on energy shifts. Marcia E, use the practice pause before, after, and during the session. Moira, definitely all of the above. Heather, pause more. Katia, pause more. Allison, I need to work more on pausing and energy shifts. Claudia Ramirez, reflecting back. Erica Montroy, using mindfulness techniques with my clients. Yes, please. Blakely said pause more. Claudia Rocafort, I love using all of the above, maybe more reflecting back or clarifying questions and incorporating the Shakti 2-minute mindful meditation. I'm definitely going to be incorporating that. Kim, inviting silence from the clients before asking how they might apply learning and insights gained. Oh, wonderful reflections. Thank you so much. Okay. All of the, Claudia, Viviana said, all of the above plus be more aware of listening, that listening is a holistic skill. Yes. Integration from insight to action. What will you integrate into your next coaching session? If anybody wants to share anything more that they'll be integrating into their next coaching session or going forward. Moira says more intentional pauses and silence. Adrian, pausing a bit before I speak, an extra bit before I speak. Thank you. Shakti, notice my level of listening and its value in the moment to the client. Allison, I think it's time to practice the pause. The pause is great. The pause is your friend, I like to say. Katya, the 3 levels of listening and using them in systematic team coaching as well. Yes, yes. Blakely, noticing my thoughts and letting them leave the room. Yeah, that's a big one. Thank you. Claudia Rocafort, giving a client moments of silence is also very powerful. Absolutely. Giving them that time to process and think. Yes. Blakely says, oh, thank you. So helpful. Thank you. So the key takeaways, listening beyond the words, active listening is presence plus awareness plus curiosity, listening beyond what's being said, noticing the tone, emotion, energy patterns, reflect to ensure clarity and growth, because that is what our overall goal as coaches is to have our clients grow. And then to keep growing your mastery, ICF Core Competencies 2025. I choose to have a reflective practice of journaling and peer coaching and feedback. We have all these opportunities for peer coaching and mentor coaching and supervision coaching. So they are out there. And listening is a skill we refine with practice. And that's all we're doing as we work is our practice, practice, practice. So I want to thank you for participating with me, being very active, even and not just listening. So I really do appreciate it. You can connect with me here. I have put a QR code for my LinkedIn. I'd love to connect with all of you, and a QR code for my website. So thank you very much for your wonderful participation. It's been a pleasure spending the last hour and a half with all of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Meredith, for this wonderful, dynamic, and powerful session. Thank you, all of you, for being here. Without you, this session wouldn't be possible. So thank you. And remember, we have later today a fantastic presentation with Marcia Reynolds. The appointment is at 5:30 p.m. Please don't miss this wonderful session. And please, let's join to give a round of applause to Meredith. Thank you, Meredith, for sharing all of this powerful insights. Okay, please don't forget to give us your feedback. We are going to share the QR. For us, it's really important to hear about your feedback. And let me put the QR. Please take a picture. And wait, it's in here. Can you see the QR now? No. What about now? Okay, great. Excellent. Carla, please give us your feedback. And again, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And see you later.
Is there any way you could
Thank
put the
you.
link in the
Thanks,
chat?
Meredith.
Thank you so
Bye.
much, everyone.
Viviana,
Yeah.
can you put the link in the chat, please? I can't use my phone to do these feedback forms.
Yeah, sure. I'm going to do it.
Thank
No
you.
problem.
Appreciate it.
Yeah. Let me copy the link now. I'm going to put it on the chat for everybody. And now it's in the chat.
Thank you. Thank you, Viviana.
No problem. Thank you, all of you.
That was awesome. Thank you, Meredith.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for attending. It was my pleasure. It
Beautiful
was a lot of
session.
fun.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.